Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the Donald Trump of South Africa, Mr. Gator McKenzie of the PA.
So the Patriotic Alliance is a party that, we are sort of ambivalent to. They are in coalition with the ANC in Joburg, where I live, and for that reason we sort of cancelled them in a way. But then Gator McKenzie went to the Business News Conference in Drakensberg or wherever, and he had the time to actually talk about what he really felt and what his plans are for the country. He believes he will be part of the coalition in 2024, whichever coalition that might be, and he had a 5-step plan to deal with the problems of South Africa. We're going to go through those 5 steps and we're going to react to them and let you, of course, decide for yourself.
Never vote for me, because the 5 things I'm going to do is things that most of you do not like. So don't vote for me. Number 1, I'm going to bring God back into schools, into South Africa, because God has been written out of our constitution.
So number 1, he says we are going to reintroduce God into the education system. South Africa has forgotten about God. I agree with him. Good, strong moral ethics. He says let's reintroduce God into the curriculum and teach people to be moral, upstanding people. 100% agree.
And I think most South Africans would agree with that as well. The problem with democracy is that it secularizes everything, including morality. Once morality is secular, then everything sort of goes. So, I'm not a huge practicing Catholic by any means, but I think bringing religion into the public square can actually have an added dose of moral and ethics to the public square. So I'm in favor of that.
Number 2, I'm going to make sure that every child over the age of 18 goes to the army. Whether you like it, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, you can throw the gun away, but you are going.
Gator McKenzie's got you covered. He says all those snowflakes are going to the army. He says he doesn't care if you're a pacifist, you can throw the gun away, but you're still going. You can be cannon fodder for all he cares. But every young individual goes to the army. Another principle I can firmly get my head behind.
So this is conscription. If you came to me 10 years ago, right, and you spoke to me about bringing God back and bringing conscription, I'll be like, you know what, that's against human rights. It's terrible. We should never do that. Looking at South Africa now, I'm like, listen, we need some sort of order. If it is through God and if it is through conscription of some sense, even if the majority of people go to the army and leave, it still gives you a sense of responsibility, a sense of duty, and perhaps it builds in the patriotism needed for people to actually work for the country itself. So I don't think we should force people to go to the army, but I think we should certainly make it very easy, especially for young people without jobs, to definitely go to the army. I think that could be quite useful.
Number 3, I'm going to mass deport all illegal foreigners and punish business people that still keep them for a day or 2. Now you're not clapping, I can see.
He knows exactly how to encourage patriotism in people, and that is, he's going to take a page out of Lux's book, and all the foreigners must go back home. Nationalize the identity of South Africans. We will look after South African first. If you're not South African, Futse Kwena. I'm with Gaten again.
You agree on that? So illegal foreigners are interesting to me. I think it is a crime that they are here. Right, it is a literal crime to cross the border without people knowing about it. There is a problem with illegal foreigners in this country, but I think he is using that to showcase that South Africa is for South Africans. We bang on this channel about where's our patriotic leader? And well, he's right here. I don't want to scapegoat illegal foreigners, though. Maybe that's just the white lib in me, in some sense.
Number 4, black people, white people, colored people, Indian people will be known on the paper only as South Africans. Get away from race. Let's be one nation under God and build this country together and make South Africa great.
White, black, Indian, gone. All you are is you're South African. So when you identify on a form, you're going to put South African. And I agree with him. This is the best way forward to create a non-racial society. Again, I'm with Mr. McKenzie on this one.
So I agree with him as well. The funny thing is, for him to solve racism or solve race is to just not talk about it. Ironically, I think this is sort of the DA position on race. So him and the DA get along quite well, and I fully agree with him as well.
The land issue. I just laugh when I see all this debates. We want the land, and we're not going to give you the land. Here's this simple story what the PA stands for. We say, if you have land, that's fine. The state got lots of land that they can give to whoever wants land. But here's the issue. If you are a black man that wants land, or a colored man, or a white man, or any man, you got to have that land. It needs to be productive. It needs to give people jobs. It needs to pay land. We need to see productivity happening on the land. If not, we will then take that land from you and compensate you. So you can have 300 farms, but if those 300 farms are not producing, and you only produce on 4 of them, we will take 296 farms and pay you market value for your farms.
So interestingly, he says about land that, he wants people to own land irrespective of race, but that land must be productive, right? It must be useful for something. It must, pay taxes on the land. You must employ people on the land. If you don't, they'll expropriate it and give you market value. He was very certain on that. He says, we'll expropriate it, but we'll pay you market value for it, which is, a policy. I'm not too sure if we can really say that productive land must be necessary for every single element of land ownership. But compared to most other policies on land from other political parties, this is one of the best ones we have at the moment. So I do support him, but the caveat is I'm not too sure about the productivity aspect of it being the necessity.
Yeah, well, you see, this is the part where I think we disagree, because I completely agree with him, and this is why. Because in many instances, these individuals are given very productive farms, and all that ends up tending to happen is they'll strip it of copper, the fruit trees in it will all get burnt down for fire. And before you have it, a farm that could be worth 60 million is suddenly worth 1 million, sometimes not even that much, maybe 200,000 rand. They decline the value in the farm because of the way that they mismanage it. And that's why Mr. Mackenzie says, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expropriate it from you, but I'm going to give you market value. In many instances, market value will actually be lower than the actual price they paid for it because of the mismanagement of the farm. And we have countless examples of where that has occurred in South Africa.
No, sure, I agree with you there. But what happens if you have a holiday home that you visit for 3 weeks a year? Is that productive or not? The devil's in the details in this particular regard. I'm not acting
he said
on
farm.
behalf. Is it only farm? He says land, and land can mean a lot of things.
He refers to farms.
All right, so if he's only referring to farms, I fully agree with his land policy. As long as there is market value being paid, as long as farms need to be productive, I actually fully agree with that in that particular regard. So, those are the 5 basic points that Gator Mackenzie sort of wants to use to save South Africa. And they're not bad. Really, this is the first time I actually hear him speak his mind openly without being interrupted, and they really aren't bad. The problem you're going to face is, can you trust the man himself? That's up to you to decide. But more importantly, what is his relationship with the ANC and the EFF? He's already in coalition in Joburg with the ANC. According to him, it was to give a smack to the DA, who are treating him terribly. They call him criminal, they call him all sorts of things. And then after a while, he says, you know what, I'm just going to go walk because you guys are treating me like a goose. And that's what he did. I don't know, Byron. His policy and his rhetoric are good, but is this the man that you can fully support yet?
I don't know, to be honest. The reality is, as you said, this is the first time we've actually heard Gator Mackenzie talk. He does actually say at the start of his interview, the reason he hasn't really talked a lot is because he had an idea. He set up a party for the coloureds. He says that he ran it for a while, didn't exactly work out well. He readjusted the policies framework. He realized he needed to get the white, the Indian, the black. He needed to get everybody in there and to create a party that was a viable opposition party on the national side. With that being said, a lot of these 5-point principles that he comes up with, I think we can agree with, but I can't see how they would interact with the ANC. The ANC isn't exactly a God-fearing party. They're not exactly a kick all the foreigners out party. They're not even a party that really wants to be non-racial. So how would they really work with Gator Mackenzie on a national level? You have to remember the old adage, birds of a feather flock together, and he's already kind of started to flock with the ANC. So this may be an example of the narrative not really matching the actual man himself.
Yeah, and I sort of agree with you. So we don't know Gator Mackenzie from a bar of soap. We have reached out to him. We still trying to get a day or two with him to understand him a bit better. But on the face of it, only policy-wise, we agree 90% with what he said in this particular speech in terms of how he will fix South Africa. I think those sort of things can work. The only thing that will make a huge difference is if you can trust the man himself. We don't have enough information at present to know that, but maybe in time to come we will. But overall, not bad. I like the patriotism, I like the nationalism, I do like the fact that he is non-racial, I do like the fact that he has a market-related solution to the land problem, not that I think it's a problem, and he's got a very reasonable solution to the race problem, which to me isn't a real problem either. So overall, I'm quietly quite impressed, but I need to know him a lot better to really gauge whether someone like this can get my vote.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. I think that we need to see more of him, we need to hear him talk more, we actually need to see him push some of this policy into actual action. We did a video a couple of days ago where we said, why is it that the DA doesn't go out there and actively just do stuff? Mr. Mackenzie's opportunity to shine and to show us that he is able to match the rhetoric that he gives. If he's able to do that, I think he'd attract a hell of a lot more interest. South Africa needs a Donald Trump. We need somebody who is deeply in love with their country and says, you know what, screw all this bullshit. let's just get things done. We need that. We have a country rich with resources. We have a country rife with opportunity. We just need the right leader. Could Mr. McKenzie be that leader? I don't know. We will find out.
Yeah, and let us know down in the comments what you think of Mr. McKenzie. And Mr. McKenzie, if you are watching, we would love to meet you for a day or two, have an interview with you, walk around the towns that you control, and let's see what we can offer the public of South Africa. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you first thing on Monday. Cheers.